How are you guys? In our last lesson, I introduced you to the subject statistics, and you will notice that there is no way one can define statistics without mentioning the word data. So in this lesson, we are going to be discussing statistical data. My name is Vincent Smoko, and my contact details are the ones which are shown on your screen. So what is data? In statistics, data can be defined as raw facts and figures. Raw means that the information is unprocessed. So another definition for data is unprocessed information. Usually this data is of very little use or no use at all to us until it is processed and analyzed. The data that we talk about in statistics usually is either qualitative or quantitative. What is the difference between qualitative and quantitative data? Qualitative data is non-numeric, whilst quantitative data is numeric. What are the examples? Examples of qualitative data include color, race, and gender. And if you are to look at color, for example, red, green, yellow, blue, purple, and so forth, you will note that this is not numeric, and hence it is qualitative. We will be talking about the quality of something. On the other hand, if you are to look at variables like age, lifetime, and salaries, they are numeric, and hence they are quantitative. On the right side of the screen, I'm showing a data set, and on this data set we have 4 variables, 2 of which are qualitative and the other 2 are quantitative. Gender and profession are qualitative because they are not numeric, whilst age and salary are quantitative variables. Here I've mentioned a very important word in statistics, which is variable. So what is a variable? A variable is an element in a research project which, when measured, take more than one value. For example, gender is a variable because if you are to measure gender, it can either be male or female. And if you are to consider the ages of people, maybe in your family or in your class, you will notice that not everyone is of the same age. So that variability in the variable age makes age a variable. Variables and their corresponding responses make up a data set. And in this data set, it actually has 67 responses and 4 variables, and hence it has 268 data items. So the variables that we have are either qualitative or quantitative. There are 2 types of quantitative variables. We have discrete variables and we have continuous variables. So what is the difference between discrete and continuous variables? A discrete variable is that one that takes distinct values. It assumes a countable number of values, and it is usually as a result of counting. Corresponding values for a discrete variable are isolated points along a line interval. That is, there is gap between any 2 values. So this means that if I am to ask you to give me a discrete variable, it doesn't have decimal places. For example, if we are to count number of people in a text, you can't say there are 2.79 people, because the values they have to be distinct. So examples of discrete variables are number of modules a student registers, number of students in a class, family size, shoe size, and so forth. On the other hand, a continuous variable can assume any numeric value on an interval. This means that there are no gaps between any of the values. Usually, continuous variables are as a result of measuring. Examples of continuous variables are weight, height, speed, and time taken to complete a task. Now, we need to talk about measurement scales. Any statistical data that you can think of, it can only be categorized under 4 levels of measurement. These 4 levels of measurement are the nominal, ordinal, interval, and the ratio scale. The nominal level of measurement is the lowest level of measurement, under which objects are distinguished from each other by their names only. Examples of variables that fall under the nominal level of measurement are color, brand, and so forth. Objects that fall under the nominal level of measurement cannot be ordered by magnitude. The second level of measurement is the ordinal level of measurement. The ordinal level of measurement is more similar to the nominal level of measurement, but here the objects can be ordered by magnitude. And one common thing between the nominal and the ordinal is that they are both qualitative in nature. But the difference between them is that under the nominal level of measurement, there is no order. You cannot order. For example, if you are given different colors, you cannot order. If you are given gender, male and female, you cannot order gender. But objects that fall under the ordinal level of measurement can be ordered. So examples of objects that fall under the ordinal level of measurement are the Likert scale. If you are given neutral, strongly agree, strongly disagree, disagree, and agree in that order, you can actually order these responses by magnitude. Same applies to level of satisfaction. So these are examples of variables or objects that fall under the ordinal level of measurement. Then the third level of measurement is the interval. This is strictly numeric. The interval level of measurement and the ratio level of measurement are both numeric, but there are two main differences. The interval level of measurement does not have a true zero. One good example of a variable that falls under the interval level of measurement is temperature. If a body is measuring 0 degrees Celsius, it does not indicate absence of heat. So there is not a true zero. Why am I saying so? This object can still lose some heat. For example, if it is water, water can still, at 0 degrees Celsius, it can still lose some heat because it can attain negative degrees Celsius. So at 0 degrees Celsius, we cannot say there is absence of heat. Another important thing that distinguishes the interval and the ratio is that the ratio of the interval level of measurement does not make sense. For example, a body which is measuring 20 degrees Celsius is not as twice as hot as a body which is measuring 10 degrees Celsius. So the ratios between the interval objects that fall under the interval level of measurement, it does not make sense. Then the fourth and the highest level of measurement is the ratio level of measurement. Here there is a true zero and the ratios do make sense. Examples of objects that fall under the ratio level of measurement are weight, height, speed, age, and so forth. Here the ratios do make sense and there is a true zero. So the first level of measurement is the nominal, followed by the ordinal. These two are strictly qualitative. And we have the interval and the ratio scale, which are strictly numeric. So I have a set of questions that I will need you to attempt. Solutions to these questions will be provided upon request. Now let's talk about sources of data. So typical exam questions about sources of data are: distinguish between primary and secondary data, give the advantages and disadvantages of primary or secondary data. So I'm going to start by describing what is primary data. Primary data is data collected for the first time from the original source by measurement or direct observation in response to a specific problem. The data is collected mainly through surveys, experiments, or direct observation. So primary data is data which is collected for the first time by the researcher for the purpose of the response. Like here we are seeing that there's a enumerator who's collecting data using something which is looking like a questionnaire or a form. So this is how primary data is collected. The major advantage of primary data is that the data is up to date and it is problem specific. It is problem specific because the data is actually collected to address the research objective. So the questionnaire or whatever research instrument that will be used is designed in a specific way to answer the research objective. One disadvantage of primary data is that the process of gathering data is usually costly and time consuming, because one would need transport and other monies to collect the information, and processing of the data also takes time and some money as well. Secondary data is data that have already been collected by someone for a purpose other than the problem at hand. The data is already in existence in form of company reports, government statistical publications, publications made by the government agencies, as well as academic and industrial publications. So here we are seeing the researcher is looking for the information on the internet, is looking for statistical data on the internet to use for the research. So this data will be secondary data. The process of gathering secondary data is cheaper and it's easier. However, data obtained may be outdated and may not entirely be suitable for the purpose of the current study. So in our next lesson, we are going to be looking at ways of summarizing data. So here are some of the services that I do offer. So if you need any of these, please feel free to get in touch. Thank you. See you in the next lesson.